Okay, Renegade Aviator News. I'm back with you. I've been getting a little bit lax again. Unlike some of the people on the internet, I've got an actual job that I need to do. I run a business. I know many of you do too, and but I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Every chance I get to come and talk to each and every you is an absolute pleasure for me. I'm not sure it's a pleasure for you, but you're here, you're listening, you're on board. Before we get started, I'm going to wrap up, I'm going to tie together some current news of the day with how that affects us as aviators and anybody who's out there giving a crap about what happens in the world. So this is an interesting one. You better stay tuned. In the meantime, like, comment, share, follow, whatever. Do it all. Press all the buttons on the right or left side of your screen and let's get started. Here we go. Okay, well, it is February 11th. So there was two things in the news today that I felt perfectly matched the subject matter for what we're going to do. And the two things are the FAA flight restrictions that were issued for over El Paso, Texas, for a 10-day period. Don't get me started. I'll get started soon enough. And AI and how that's going to affect everybody's life, but where you're going to see it for what we care about, right? How it's going to affect aviators. So those are the two things we're going to start today. These are two related topics. Believe that. I'm going to tie them together. Okay, so I don't have any notes. I'm not sitting here reading off a teleprompter, or I'm not your news source, so please don't treat it as that way. But when I first got up this morning, there was a news report that the FAA, in their infinite wisdom, had put a flight restriction within a defined area around El Paso. And I believe the TFR, temporary flight restriction, was for 18,000 and below. By the time I had my coffee, by the time I answered my morning emails, that had been lifted. And so immediately I cried bullshit. Whatever the government does, I'm going to cry bullshit. They're not telling us something, they don't care, or they're totally incompetent. It has to be one of those. So we've got a couple things going in the world, and this is not a political show. If you want to hear my political commentary, come on out to the hangar, man. It'll turn your stomach or blow your mind, one or the other. But let me just stick to the FAA. There was a time in my lifetime where the government could not shut down airspace until 9/11. Yeah, I was an airline pilot during a 9/11, and the overnight they grounded us. I was flying the day or right before the airplanes hit the towers in New York City, and before we had a missile fly into the Pentagon. Oops, I shouldn't say that. Or before a plane was shot down over Pennsylvania. Oh, I shouldn't have said that either. Anyway, we didn't just pull airplanes out of the sky. It was unheard of to do that. Fast forward to today. Temporary flight restrictions in aviation have now become a fact of life. What once was somewhere where the FAA really didn't care where you flew, they expected us as aviators to use our best judgment as captains, as the pilots in command, and they knew we weren't going to do stupid things. But now it's a different world since 9/11. And now the FAA shuts down airspace for football games. They shut down airspace over Disneyland. They shut down airspace when a president goes somewhere, or when any lower level official that deems they need that protection goes somewhere. So we're used to having temporary flight restrictions. And it doesn't mean that in every case that, telling people, hey, stay out of this area is not a bad idea, right? But this was strange today. This was very strange today because the FAA just blanketly, it may have been half knee-jerk, or it may be part of a game that's being played. So imagine you're a pilot diddy-bopping along up there at 40,000 feet, and you're ready to make your descent into El Paso, Texas, and lo and behold, the airspace is closed to the ground. No aircraft could enter a certain area. El Paso is right at the border between the U.S. and Mexico, for those of you that can't read maps. And there's also a couple of pretty big military bases that are around there. I have friends that work at some of those bases. So why, I guess? The question is why? Why did they do it? Well, we don't know. We won't know. The news is going to change, and you may look at this post. This may be a month or a year or 10 years after this whole thing went down on February 11th, 2026, and it may be a non-issue, or it may be hidden from you, or it may be just another encroachment on how aviators fly. So think about that. We've got a war coming. At least it looks that way, and I hope the hell not. I'm a former U.S. Marine, a U.S. combat Marine. I don't want to see that happen. I know none of you do. Sometimes wars are necessary, but modern wars seem not to be. But I'm not going to digress, because I'm going to get into my next side of this. After this shutdown of airspace, then not shutdown of airspace, then something else. Buckle up, Buttercup. Hold on. There's stuff happening. That's all I want to say. And the government is getting more and more control over we as aviators. And that brings me into my next topic, which is artificial intelligence. Now, you may look at me and say, well, clearly Dave doesn't have any intelligence. But I'll tell you that my intelligence is not artificial in any kind. Like it or not, my opinion or not, and this is what this stuff is my opinion, I'm pretty freaking intelligent. I was going to use a different word than freaking. So I'm pretty freaking intelligent, at least I think so. As a matter of fact, when I was in the medical world, we had a slogan that we implemented. It was called intelligent ventilation. And so doctors would come into the trade show booth and they'd say, well, that's a pretty arrogant thing to put up, intelligent ventilation. Why would you say that? I'd say, oh, I don't know. Let's see how intelligent you are. Come on into my booth and let's talk about it. Anyway, digressing again, but let me talk about artificial intelligence. It already is, but it will forever change our roles as aviators. Make no mistake on this. So story time. You want to have a story time? This is real world stuff. This is how stuff goes down. And in the real world, years ago, I used to fly for a company that we moved paper checks all over the U.S. every single night. We used to say, anytime, any weather, on time. And we flew things like, get this, we flew the Baron, we flew the Aerostar, we flew the Chieftain, we flew the Cessna 310, we flew Cessna Caravans, and the really cool Star Check pilots, that was our call sign, would progress up into the Lear 25 and the Lear 35, baby. Great airplanes to kick ass in the sky, and we moved primarily checks and radioactive isotopes. We won't go into that right now. Oh, by the way, speaking of radioactive isotopes, love the comments on the video that I put up on my page. Go to Facebook or go to YouTube, and you'll see me saying, oh, radioactive, radioactive. Guys and gals, you don't know the half of it. We'll get into that. That's a story for another day. But we used to fly checks around. And then they told us one day, hey, Renegade Aviator. I was pre-Renegade Aviator days. I was still an asshole, but they'd say, hey, pre-Renegade Aviator. We're not going to need you guys flying checks and Learjets all over the U.S. every night, because we're going to scan those checks in. The banking system no longer needs to see printed checks. And we were dumbfounded, because every night we were loading into well over 100 aircraft a night just with our company. We flew under the call sign Star Check, and some of you will know that call sign. I wear that proudly. That was like the U.S. Marines of aviation. Best flying I ever did. And let me digress 1 second here, because I know the military likes to think that they're really skilled and really cool aviators. And yeah, you fly cool airplanes, I'll give you that. But in my career, the people that I flew with, the guys who flew night freight, were the best pilots in the civilian world that I ever ran into, and really were head and shoulders above a military guy that we would put in the cockpit. So, and the reason is because they were aviators. They actually flew airplanes. We actually did NDB approaches. We would hold at 2 intersecting NBD radials. We would do circle to land at night in a jet on a non-precision approach. Converting over into the circle to land. And we never had accidents with that stuff. Where we did have accidents were stupid things. We had someone killed following too close to a 7.5 and got a wake turbulence roll. We had somebody have checks catch fire in the front of the airplane. That was a bad deal. But all in all, we were aviators. We flew airplanes 6, 7, 8 legs a night, every night in the weather. And that includes the piston twin guys. No autopilots, no GPS for the most part. And the Lears that we flew, half the time, and those of you pilots listening, they were slash alpha, for God's sakes. So true aviators. That's not the case anymore. We have now, fairly recently, I had a chance to fly an F-16. And easiest damn airplane in the world I ever flew. So you didn't have to do anything. And again, this is not a put down of the current aviators, but flying airplanes has become easier, and therefore has allowed a more diverse group of pilots, because you don't need to be the steely-eyed monster that you needed to be with the true aviators, right? The real aviators are not guys like me. They were the guys that came before us, the guys that flew DC-3s and P-51 Mustangs, all the unlimited air racers that you air race fans love to see. I did my initial training with guys that were World War II pilots and Korea pilots, and you want to talk about a humbling experience, go fly with one of them. Great memories. I'm blessed to be able to flown warbirds, piston warbirds. Loved my time in the DC-3. We used to take that to air shows. But I'm going to come full circle now. What triggered this was a picture that I saw, and I posted it on my Facebook page, of a steerman with a Starlink antenna on the turtle deck, so that they could stream live social media as they're out there flying. Great idea. And my comment was, what a dichotomy, right? What a change. What a culture shock between renegade or aviators of old and what we do today. So AI, I don't want to make this video too long. I want to keep it on point, and we're gonna stay connected here. And this all comes from the El Paso thing. So one idea in my head gets this renegade brain going, and I tied it straight to AI. So imagine a time where you don't need to file a flight plan. Imagine a time where ATC doesn't even need to talk to you on the radio. Imagine a time when pilots are not required. Most of the corporate jets that I fly now are easy to fly, except for certain ones that require you to actually fly them, which is why I stick to aircraft. You're going to laugh. That's why I stick to aircraft like a G200, man. Not enough wing, not enough tail. Love flying the airplane because you have to fly it. Not all the automation. We don't even have auto throttles, and some of you airline people will gasp, oh my God, we don't have auto throttles in a jet. This is horrible. But AI is going to, some might say, level the playing field, because no, anybody be able to fly a stupid airplane. And also it's going to impact how we fly. So it's going to control us. You're going to have something that's not a living human being, thinking faster than we can, trying to eliminate errors. There's good and bad in everything, right? We try to eliminate errors. And I talk to the medical industry all the time about the human interface with medical devices. Humans make mistakes, but we didn't become aviators because we don't make mistakes. We became aviators because it's cool to be an aviator, or at least it used to be. We're dumbing it down. We are making it more fancy, more inclusive. Anybody can do it. It's great. You know, you could have woke up yesterday, and if you decide you want to be a pilot, you can do it because our navigation has gotten easier. We hold our navigation on an iPad or an iPhone. Half the time I take international trips, my whole navigation bag is my iPhone, the one I'm doing a video on right now. So that's gotten better. We're going to see better weather. We already have better weather. I sit in the cockpit all the time, and because of technology, and this is not even touching AI, because of technology, we can see what's ahead. In the old days, we turned the radar on, and we would look at maybe 80 miles out. Is about all they were good for. And that was the extent of our weather knowledge other than a forecast. But today it's all in our hands. And as AI takes over, here's my prediction. So listen up. This is important. If you want to be a pilot, realize that you can be a pilot, but it won't be an aviator. It won't, because you won't fly the airplane. You won't. We see it now. I can't tell you how aggravated I get. I fly with more and more pilots. 400 feet autopilot comes on, short final autopilot comes off, and the rest of the flight, and you know, except for some of you gals that are making videos with the look at me, and they're making all these control inputs as they fly. You know, we fly airplanes with our fingertips now, and they will continue to get easier and easier to fly until the point where the pilot is not required. We're going to see 2-member crews go down to 1, and in your lifetime, we're already seeing the autonomous drones. That ties back to El Paso, because supposedly there was a drone incursion from Mexico, which I don't believe was you know, I'm an Italian from New Jersey. Drug cartels don't bomb their pathways into the U.S., but I do know that there's terrorists down there, and maybe that was a reason, maybe not. I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist with you, but just watch, just keep an eye on it, keep your eyes open. But what else is AI going to do? Any of you dispatchers, any of you pilots, any of you white-collar people in aviation that think your job is safe, I predict in the next 5 years it may not even exist. But what we're doing with Renegade Aviator, newsflash, is I want to talk to the people that are the next generation of our maintainers. If you can use your hands and your brain, you can have a great career in aviation, and it's often overlooked. So, you know, those of us who fly these old-fashioned manual jets like the TS-11 Iskra, or I'll give a nod out to the guys and girls that are flying air shows in cool vintage jets without the aid of computers, like the F-35 or the F-22, or all this new technology that damn near flies itself. It won't let you stall the airplane. It won't let you do anything stupid. But people like Randy Ball give you a shout out. People like Scratch Mitchell give you a shout out. Greg Collier, the Patriots. People that are, and me, I'll put myself in there, but I don't hold a candle to these guys who've been doing a lot longer than I have. And there's more of them. I can't remember them all. I'm not that smart. The people that actually have to fly the airplane are gone. Our days are numbered, all of us, because soon, when you come out of an automated cockpit, you won't be able to hand fly anything with any kind of skill unless you make a decision and you practice those skills. And that's what I say: shut up, show up, be excellent. Look for my book coming soon. That is key. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to pull it back over to the maintainers. We have got a skill gap right now in aviation maintenance, and it's big. And it's a job that's not going to go away, and it is a 6-figure potential job. So AI, we already do this. AI can help scan, it can look at all the maintenance data, it can integrate that, it can help you troubleshoot, it can help you be a better maintainer, a better mechanic, a better engineer. But it's still going to take somebody with the willingness to put a tool in their hand and put that tool on the aircraft and solve problems, fix things, and be safe. So where AI is going to least affect for now, and when I say for now, I'm talking about 5 years, 10 years. If you're fixing airplanes, you're safe. If you're flying airplanes, we'll talk about this more, and based on your comments and your suggestions, if you fly airplanes, soon anybody can do it. And once anybody can do it, how renegade is that? That's not aviator. That's just, I like to fly to go places. You know, it was interesting when I used to train pilots that would get into their entry-level jets, you know, and now they have the one-engine Cirrus jet, which, you know, okay, a jet should have 2 engines, at least, unless it's a fighter or something like I fly, but a business jet, a personal jet. You know, I used to train people that would buy Citation Mustangs and CJs and things like that. And these were pilots that were fairly low time. And I noticed something. Some of them were aviation nuts. Most of them just saw the airplane as a way to go from point A to point B. They ran a business. They were good guys, but they needed a form of transportation. And so the automation and all that stuff was great for them. Corporate flight departments, airline departments used to have aviators in them. Now, a lot of those pilots, hey, I'm going to go to the airlines and make $500K a year and work 15 days, maybe a month, or I'm going to be a corporate jet pilot, make 300 grand a year, and I'm going to fly 15 days, maybe a month, and I'm going to complain, you know, about the fact that I got to travel and I'm away from home and all this crap. But the old aviators that flew aircraft started out as aviation nuts. Now, charter companies could care less if you love aviation or not. They want somebody that follows the rules, flies the airplane the way it's designed to be flown. That's a key point. Airline pilots follow the rules, fly the airplane the way it's designed to be flown. Airshow pilots are different. Fly the airplane to entertain, to inspire, to encourage, to coach, to have a friggin' blast every day and be grateful. Where am I going with this? I'm going to end it here. I'm going to end it, I promise you. So stay tuned. You watch this far. The airplanes are not designed to be flown anymore. They are designed to have their systems managed up until the point where artificial intelligence was your dispatcher, was your air traffic control, was the captain of the aircraft, and now aviators cease to exist. Is that doom and gloom? It's not doom and gloom. What I'm giving you is a wake-up call. For those of you to go out there to the local airports and get in that 172 and fly, good on you. For those of you to buy that Pitts Special and go up there and turn and burn and have a blast, stick and rudder, good for you. Those of you that are into backcountry flying, stall flying, or those of you that buy a Baron and take family on trips or run your business, good for you. Be grateful every day. I'm grateful every day that I fly. I'm grateful to have you on this channel, and keep the conversation going. Beat me up when I need to be beaten up. I got no ego whatsoever, and I really don't give a shit if you beat me up or not. But my job is to get us thinking. That's what we do as aviators. That's what we do as the pilots in command of our own lives. This is Dave Costa. I am the Renegade Aviator. See ya.